Hey,
Is it on?
it's on.
Hi. How you doing?
Hi. Hey there. Great. How are you?
Good. Doing great.
Extra great
Ready to
today?
rock and roll. Oh, yeah.
Tell me why.
Because Ohio State are national champions.
That was right. Yesterday was a great game.
Yes.
Super fun.
It was awesome.
It's
This
like,
whole 2 months were awesome.
this is the best time of my life.
Yeah.
As I was saying to Tatum yesterday, you know that you were happy because instead of like cheering and getting super stoked, it was like a relief, of relaxation.
Yeah.
Like
I felt relief.
at last.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Yes, it was very nice.
And it's been a long time coming a little bit, so it was fun.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Well, I'm glad you're extra happy and that we're able to record today before I leave town in a couple hours. Mm-hmm. But welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Siblings in Crime. I'm Allie Rossell.
And I'm Blake Murphy.
And just as it sounds, we're siblings who love true crime. Nothing crazy. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yep.
So today's story is actually one of like the first ones that we wrote up, but we're going to be recording it today. And the pronunciations are so tough on these.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a challenge, so bear with me. I'll do my best. But before that, anything else? Obviously, the Ohio State, so sweet. But
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Everything's great.
you're like,
That's
I've never
good.
been more happy in my life.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, this week, I don't think we have much going on. I think we're both flying a little bit, but...
Yep. I fly to Utah, and then I fly to Austin.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be working, or I'm on reserve Sunday, so we'll see if I get called in. I've gotten called in every day this month, so we'll see.
You're like, oh, I'm not going to fly a lot. Wait, never mind.
Yeah, the most I've flown.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice. I'll be in Utah for majority of the week, so.
Nice. That'd be good.
Yeah. Well, for this story, this is going to be a little different. It's more cultish, but...
Spooky.
Yeah, so it's kind of even creepier vibes than normal.
Wait, what's it called?
This is going to be The Rise of Magdalena Solís, the High Priestess of Blood.
Oh, that's spooky.
It is. And so I'll give us a little intro to it, and then we'll hop into our story.
Sounds good.
All right, so in 1947, things were different from our current day and age. We have knowledge and resources at our fingertips and can fact-check anything we desire with the push of a few buttons, which is honestly, I feel like that's true, but also you can literally find anything on Google. It's like, it's so hard to tell if it's even true when you research it now because you can find things proving or disproving on Google anyways. But ignorance is less common with news and media streaming endlessly, flooding us with opinions, facts, and trends these days. There's a reoccurring debate on whether or not this limitless screen time is a blessing or a curse, but I think we can all agree that when given a choice, it's better to have access to additional information than the lack thereof.
Yep.
But rewinding to over half a century ago to this country of Mexico, these once simple villagers didn't have this luxury. So when two men claiming to be prophets came to their small town promising wealth, fortune, and the reincarnated goddess Coatlicue, they were left to blindly obey.
Sounded like you did pretty good on that one.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll be seeing how those pronunciations go, but I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's what Google says, so
Cool.
I'm riding with it.
Sounds good.
All right, and this is the story, like I said, of the rise of Magdalena Solís, the High Priestess of Blood.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do
roll.
it.
So right smack in the heart of Mexico lies the state of... Wait, before we go into this, tell me how this is pronounced. Tamaulipas? Tamaulipas?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Tamaulipas?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so right smack in the heart of Mexico lies the state of Tamaulipas. This early settled town was known for its music, culture, and historical sites and has been inhabited for at least 8,000 years.
Holy
It's
smokes.
like super old.
And it's small?
Yeah, it's super small. Among this civilization, Magdalena Solís was born. I don't know why I said super small. I have no idea if it's small or not, actually. The town we're going to be talking about soon is very small.
Oh, not this thing.
This one is where Magdalena actually grew up, and I don't know the population of this city.
Yeah, it's probably big.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds like it's a popular one. I don't know. It sounds kind of familiar, so that's promising.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like, so it might not be. It's like the biggest city. I'm like, I have no idea. But later we're going to be getting to a very small town. But right now, this is where Magdalena was born. So very little is reported on her parents but they say that
Appearance?
her parents.
Oh, parents.
Sorry, yeah.
You're good.
I'm a mumbler. Thanks for catching.
Yep.
So her parents are, from what we have gathered with our resources, it seems like they were very neglectful and that it was more like they were just completely absent.
Okay.
I don't know if they were like necessarily
So bad
abusive or just like not there.
It's not good.
Right. And so there wasn't much information there, but it was very poverty-stricken home, and it left this young woman potentially as young as 12 years old and her older brother to fend for themselves. With absent parents, this duo had an interesting bond because, yes, they were siblings, but at the young age of just around 15, her brother Eleazar was also her pimp.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's sad.
So it sounds like they're fending for themselves, doing what they can. So Eleazar seemed to do what he could with their circumstances, which ultimately led to his business, which is obviously not the type of business you want to be in. And this is one that, like, a life that Magdalena couldn't escape. It's family run. But by this time, when she was 12, Magdalena was working as a prostitute, and she was actually preferring the women clients. And even Eleazar himself took on clients alongside his little sister, which records actually say that he prefers the men. In such a harsh environment, they never knew a world of choice, only survival. And so this stripped them of ever having that childlike innocence. Dang. So they grew up in a rough circumstances. They're doing what they can, right? And you hear it's like so common people can kill just like because, but you often hear killers have a really rough upbringing. Like, that's such an important time for, like, mental development and stuff. So some things can get messed up in there, which is heartbreaking when you're kind of just given a bad hand.
Yeah, definitely.
These children grew up too fast, and by the early 60s, they left the familiarity of their hometown and headed off to Monterey to start anew. We can only suspect that they were running away from their apparent abuse-like childhood and looking for a fresh start with a new town, new opportunities. At this time, 7.5 hours deeper into Mexico, in a remote village of Yerbabuena. So this is the small town that I was thinking of. I have no idea how big the other town is. In Yerbabuena, a pair of brothers, Santos and Cayetano.
I don't know.
Hernandez. How would you pronounce that word?
Just go with it.
Well, I don't want to
butcher
butcher
it. From here.
Oh, I forgot you're not wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
Little Velma. They were carving their own path, these two brothers in Yerbabuena. Up until this point in their lives, the brothers had been guilty of many petty crimes, mainly including theft, but that was going to escalate come 1962 to early 1963. For some reason, I was researching this. I thought it was like way longer ago. Like, Mom and Dad were born.
Yeah,
like
especially Dad.
Yeah.
Mom wasn't really around then.
She was one. She was especially Dad. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, so it sounds like way longer ago, but I think it's because it's such a small town that they were like way behind with progressing with the world.
Yeah. But
these men were on their way to become the ultimate scam artists. On discovery of this tiny village of just only 50 people, most of which... Wow.
That's like super
That's what
tiny.
I was like trying to say how small this town was.
Well, it's a village.
Right. Most of these people were illiterate and suffered from terrible poverty. They just didn't have access to extra knowledge and all that.
Yeah.
So Santos and Cayetano saw their opportunity and took advantage of their lack of resources and education. And so with bold declaration, the Hernandez brothers took these villagers into the deep limestone caves tucked away from society and proclaimed their callings as prophets sent from the Inca gods. They spoke of hidden treasures. How did they get
everyone to just go up there with them?
Well, this is what I was about to say, is they spoke of hidden treasures among them and that the glory that lies within arm's reach if they would be worshipped and do as they're told. So these guys come in, they're like, yeah, we came from the Inca gods, like, trust us. If you do what we say, you're going to be rich. Mm-hmm. And so they're all like, okay, we'll go in these limestone caves with you. So sad. It's just... Yeah.
It's also probably because they're like, yeah, we only know, 20 people. And then these random people come. It's like,
they must be something.
Yeah, they
special.
Must be something.
Like, we've never seen anyone outside of these other 40.
They can read and everything, too.
That's true.
It's like they're special.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, like, they obviously saw these guys. Like, they have to be different. And so, In such dire need of basic survival necessities, the hope of fortune surpassed even their greatest imaginations and left them captured both physically and mentally to this beautiful lie. These vulnerable villagers did as they were told with the faith that through their desperate devotion, these glorious blessings of wealth would come to fruition. And so these brothers were actually just pure evil. Like from going from theft and petty crime to going on to lead these villagers, they just took advantage of them through and through day by day. The manipulation was relentless. These people were robbed of the little money they had, the little food they had, and most painfully, their dignity. They were forced into sexual acts of whatever the brothers deemed desirable of the day. So drugs and sex orgies were a regular occurrence, and many were even said to have been sold into sex slavery. Dang. Which is like many, you're dwindling down to like 40 people.
I thought you said there's 20.
There was 50 people in this
50.
town.
That's right.
Yeah, so 50 people in this village, and they're just getting completely taken advantage of. Yeah. Which is like sad that like what you're willing to do for fortune. Like these poor villagers just didn't know what to do in order to gain a little bit more of advantage, but instead they're just getting taken advantage of. But the chokehold of these prophets, the chokehold that these prophets had on these followers, were tightening with an absurd amount of unspeakable demands until doubt started to creep through their cracks. So whispers came from followers wondering, like, where are these promised riches that are hidden in the mountains, and why have there been no further signs from the Inca gods?
So they're starting to, like, not believe them?
Yeah, they're like, okay, we're literally doing everything you're asking us, and
like, we're all riches?
We're all poor still.
We're more poor than when you first came.
You literally taken everything from us. And, like, so they are getting no rewards for these crude acts. Yeah. And so the prophets start to see this and realize they need to do something about it. After 3 months, this suspicion rose throughout the cult, and it caused the brothers to kind of go into action with their next plan. So after contemplating their lies and scams, the two made the decision that the only way to keep their cult of sex, power, and drugs without the hidden treasure, because obviously there was none, was to give their people a sign from the gods. And all they needed was a little taste of hope amongst their empty promises to keep the order within the cave. And so to do this, the brothers went on the hunt for the reincarnated ancient Aztec goddess Coatlicue, or how we know her, Magdalena Solís.
Oh, I see. I was kind of wondering when she was going to come up.
I was like, yeah, she's just a random character.
Yeah, like just introduced her and then never talk about her again.
Yeah, so at this time, the brothers...
Coatlicue.
Nice, very good. At this time, the brothers made the journey to Monterey, and they're actually seeking out a prostitute, figuring that they would probably want to run away from that lifestyle.
Yeah, make some money.
Right. And they found somebody, they were looking for anyone that would voluntarily join their scam by promising that power and wealth, like you were saying. With no better future in sight, the young girl, along with her brother, took the bait and made their way to the caves of Yerbabuena to be a beacon of hope to the ignorant villagers, where they would be presented as Coatlicue, along with the reincarnated Saint Francis of Assisi, or Eleazar.
Okay, so we got a saint,
yeah.
We got Mayan prophets or something like that, and then we have Aztec goddess.
Look at you. Yep, we
Let's
got a
go.
whole... Doesn't sound like a bad joke. You're like,
it's
the
like...
blonde walks in the bar, like something stupid. And, like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
we're just reaching for things. They're like, freak, what?
Like, what sounds powerful?
Yeah.
And that's so funny because, like, if you know anything about mythology and ancient religion, like you said, you may realize that these lies are so far-fetched in just every direction. But I, for one, know nothing. Like, if they would have said these names, I'd have been like, cool, they're all related somehow. I would have zero idea that this is, like, such a far stretch. So I very well could have been tricked. But luckily, in the present day and location, we have technology, books, we can find anything we want. And so I'm just going to give the briefest synopsis of who these people really are. And so these self-proclaimed prophets in Yerbabuena, Mexico, claim to come from the Inca gods, like you said. The Inca gods were essential to the spiritual life of the empire that stretched across the Andes mountain range in mainly Peru. And these gods helped the Inca people live in balance with nature and the world around them. Most notably, the Inca gods were never present in Mexico. So it's like they're so random.
Yeah.
And so, like, why would they be going to Yerbabuena, Mexico? Well, of course, these villagers don't know. In addition to this, their plan to further elaborate their scam by recruiting the so-called goddess Quatlique and randomly Saint Francis of Assisi seems to debunk their tales even more. So Quatlique was a prominent Aztec goddess associated with earth, fertility, life, death, and rebirth. Her name, which means serpent skirt, is a reference to the snake-like elements in her depiction, where she is often shown with a skirt made of serpents and a necklace of a human hearts.
Oh, wow. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, her
kind of some foreshadowing.
Yeah.
She just kind of turns bad or something.
Yeah, considering we're in a cult, that's going that direction.
Yeah.
Her appearance obviously was fearsome, with a head of snakes and a body covered in blood, symbolizing her power over both creation and destruction.
Dang.
So Quatlique's most important myth centers around her role as the mother of, this is the name I'm going to butcher most of all, Huitzlilopochtli. I think that was actually completely wrong. I forgot to put the pronunciation thing in there. That could have been completely wrong. So if you're like a myth person,
really bad.
Huitzlilopochtli, I think is what it is. This is the Aztec god of war and the sun. Okay. So according to the myth, Quatlique was a virgin when she became pregnant with this said son.
Yeah.
After a mysterious featherball, or hummingbird, descended on her lap. This caused her other children to become enraged and plot her death. However, when Quatlique gave birth to this guy, the god sprang fully grown and armed from her womb, immediately beheading and dismembering the other children to protect her.
Jeez.
Yeah, so this narrative really emphasizes Quatlique's role as both the mother and symbol of the cycles of life and death. Oh. So that's like the myth that she's known around. Yeah. And so this is the person that they've so-called reincarnated and brought to the cave.
Spooky.
The Aztecs performed rituals in her honor to ensure the fertility of the earth and to maintain a cosmic order. So essential to the Aztec belief was the idea the sun needed to be fed with human sacrifice through rituals in order to rise each day.
Jeez.
The religion deeply viewed the world as an ever-revolving cycle of creation, destruction, and renewal. So you can kind of see what direction we're going in.
Yeah.
Which is a scary leap for these prophet brothers to be bringing in someone who supposedly does sacrifices.
Yeah.
So we have, like you said, these two prophets that are like Peruvian Inca gods. We have the Aztec goddess and a Catholic saint who is best known for not trying to abolish poverty, but to make it holy. So this is our new squad. They're rolling into the cave. These are the leaders of the village. And upon arrival with the two new members of the scam, the Hernandez brothers put on a theatrical ritual to introduce these two reincarnated spiritual beings, which included smoke, incense, and the chanting of ancient words, which just sucked the attention of these cult followers. Yeah. So they put on this like whole scheme. Yeah. Like they had smoke. I don't even know how they did all of it, but they did like some huge presentation.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're sold. Like that's the goddess.
Yeah.
You know?
Got him.
Yeah, exactly. So this dramatic display was like performed in such a convincing manner that all who saw just came to believe. And so in their minds and heart, Magdalena, with her beautiful youth and dark eyes, was the sign from the gods that they have eagerly anticipated, and this was their queen. So they haven't seen the riches, they haven't seen any treasure, but they're like, oh, we're moving in the right direction. Like more gods are coming to us. Mm-hmm. But what the brothers hadn't anticipated was that Magdalena would come to believe in her own divine nature.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. At the age of just 15, Magdalena Solís was no longer the broken girl from Tamaulipas, I think is how you say it. All right. She was no longer a mere pawn in her brother's game. She had become the High Priestess, and her transformation was quick, severe, and terrifying. So like we said in the beginning, like you can kind of get chemically wired wrong. Some things can mess up if you've had abuse, and that's not everyone, but like she was in very hard circumstances. And so now she's being told that she's this goddess, and she's like, heck yeah, I am. She's on board. She's starting to get brainwashed as well, thinking that she really is this ancient goddess. Wow. And so that's like dangerous considering the myth of what she's known for. So not long after she took the throne, a shift had occurred. The leaders ended up becoming the followers, and the sexual abuse had become more violent, and rituals started to reflect the bloodshed of ancient myths. So these prophets that brought him are now like, oh crap, now we're her servants. Now they like, don't have any of the reign. Man. Yes. And so fear.
Now the villagers are like, this is the goddess. And
Yes,
really
now they're
listen to
really
her.
believing in
And
the
she's
goddess.
like, I am the goddess.
The prophets are like, what the heck? They just got one up.
Right, you remember?
Yeah, we brought you here. Yeah, and so they're getting kind of like tossed to the side. And fear crept into the hearts of those witnessing such cruel acts. But with the disbelievers being punished, the once innocent people began to sink into despair. And so it's a frightening situation because either you're doing these horrible acts to serve your goddess, or if you disbelieve, you're the one that's getting punished.
Yeah.
And starting to get into the realm of human sacrifice.
Oh, dang.
So while this is going on, we're going to kind of have a change in narrative. We have this 14-year-old boy, Sebastian. And this was in the spring of 1963. And this guy, he was just like a nice little guy. He's going on his little adventures as I feel like little boys do, maybe. He's a cave exploring. Yeah. He wanted to go find like treasures and stuff himself. So he was on an adventure. He was cave exploring. And to no surprise, the sound of movement coming from one of the deep limestone caves caught his attention. And as any teenage boy would, he went to investigate. As he got closer, the chants got louder, the lights got brighter, and as he peeked around the corner, the sight he saw sent him bolting back down the mountain and running 15 miles to the closest police station. Yeah, he's an athlete.
Yeah.
I was like, you had to have seen something terrifying if you're sprinting that long to go get help.
Yeah.
Out of breath after miles of running, he relayed everything he saw between gaps of breath to the officials. What Sebastian saw and reported to these guys was just bodies, multiple dead bodies. The bodies were beaten to the brink of death, and right before they would pass, Magdalena would demand the villagers to cut their hearts out while it was still pumping as an offering to the gods and drink the dying's blood.
Holy cow.
Dark.
Wait, who wouldn't drink it? She would?
She would, and I think she would make villagers drink it.
Oh, man.
I was like, that sounds wildly unhealthy.
Yeah.
But how scary. It's like these people aren't even completely passed yet, and they're trying to do it while it's still that fresh.
Ew.
Yeah, frightening.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's what the boy saw?
That's what he witnessed, yep.
Oh, man.
How traumatizing for this for anybody.
Yeah.
And so he's like telling the cops, like, this is crazy. And they're like, 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Like, their imagination's crazy or whatever.
Liar.
Yeah, exactly. And what's even more sad is, like, there was only 50 people in this village. So these are, like, their friends, their neighbors. Like, you're going to know all 50 people in your village. And so, like...
Oh, that they're killing... Like, I think they're talking about the boy will know everyone.
Oh, no. Like, they're sacrificing their, like, neighbor, their buddy.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, Magdalena's like, oh, that's the guy, and they all have to comply, or it's their next.
Yeah, that's sad.
Oh, that is so heartbreaking. And so it's, like, just such a small community, and you know that it's just gone way too far, and they're so far under this, like, brainwash curse that they have to do all these things. The so-called non-believers were picked off one by one as an offering to the gods. And what the boy reported was that there was blood-stained altars and dismembered body parts scattered around as though wild animals savagely made their mark. The ritual Sebastian stumbled upon happened to be the ultimate sacrifice to gain their protection from the police, the army, and any other intruders, according to Magdalena.
Oh, wow.
This sacrifice was the crucifixion of Magdalena's supposed girlfriend, Selena, who had actually been appointed her priestess. And so, like, rumors say that Selena agreed to be sacrificed with the belief that she would be rewarded for her discipleship and receive the highest degree of glory.
That's weird. She wants her girlfriends killed.
Yeah. What it sounds like is that she also just believed, like, if you sacrifice, like, the most thing you love or, like, the most important part, then that's going to be, like, the ultimate glory. Yeah. So both, like, 14-year-old girls probably were on board with this crazy crucifixion in order to receive, like, I don't know, glory or, like, whatever is, like, the highest reward.
Dang, that's scary.
And this is what the 14-year-old boy saw. He saw Selena's crucifixion.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. That's wild. And
so he's telling the cops this, and, like, undoubtedly he's terrified. And the officials are just kind of laughing it off as a ridiculous extreme story. And he was in shock, begged the officers to go investigate for themselves. And after much persistence, one of the cops, Lewis, agreed to go with the teenager the next day to look for himself. Okay. So, like, okay, fine, we'll go. Show me where the cave is, whatever.
So a nice cop. Good cop.
He's curious enough, right? Yeah. So he seems like a good guy. So the next day comes and goes, and neither policeman nor Sebastian.
So they go.
They went,
Yeah.
but it's never to be seen again
Oh, wow.
alive.
And so now the police are like, wait a second.
Like, where are these guys?
Where's the cop? He hasn't been back yet.
Exactly. So now the rest of the crew is like, okay, something's wrong.
Do they know where they went?
I think the Sebastian told them like where he saw them.
Yeah.
So I think they know the general area. And so they immediately went out on a search. The search went on for a little while, and they went out and looking for these two people. When they did that, that's when they unraveled this atrocious blood cult. Oh. There were a strong resistance from the reincarnated queen's loyal followers, which resulted in physically fending off officials with a shootout. So we have these cops.
That's crazy.
They came across this cave. They found it. The villagers are promised like protection from cops, armies, all this stuff.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, we'll take them down.
Yeah, so now you have like this actual like battle between the cops and the villagers, and because they're completely brainwashed, thinking that they're protecting their god.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And so like obviously some of them lost their lives because of in the crossfire, but it still ended with the capture of Magdalena Solís and most of her accomplices and followers. So on May 31st, 1963, Eleazar and Magdalena Solís were arrested on a farm in the village where they were hiding in possession of a considerable amount of marijuana. And so I guess everyone scattered from that cave. They're going out into the village. They're finding their hiding spots. The cops are shooting it up. They're trying to capture everybody.
Yeah.
And they finally caught Selena and her brother. And so they found them. And when they, while they were like, doing this raid basically of the cave.
Yeah.
Santos Hernandez was shot by police bullets while resisting arrest. And then his brother, Cayetano Hernandez, was the victim of his own lies because he was assassinated by one of their very own members of the sect, Jesus Rubio. Why? And so I think it was just probably a non-believer. He's like, probably like, finally I get my revenge.
Yeah, okay.
And so I imagine a lot of them were like, this is not real. Yeah. But you couldn't speak up.
Couldn't say anything.
Yeah. And so the brothers both didn't make it through this police invasion.
Yeah. Dang.
Much goes on to say about the mental state of Magdalena, as she truly came to believe that she was this long-lost queen. Yeah. Many attribute this psychotic break and delusions to the dysfunctional childhood she and Eleazar fought through. Because at just 16 years old, Magdalena and her older brother, Eleazar, were charged with only the two murders of Sebastian and investigator Luis Martinez, who were actually found near the same farm the leaders were apprehended. Oh, wow. So they ended up finding the two that went missing, but obviously they were deceased. And not only were they deceased, they had been carved and left for dead.
Oh, dang.
It seems as though they were trying to do
some
their
kind
last
of ritual or something.
Yeah, like according to Magdalena, if that's how she thought they got protection, I imagine it was their attempt to have protection, which is so sad. 14-year-old and a police officer. The siblings were sentenced to 50 years each for the two homicides. And because they can't be pinned on like the other human sacrifices, they were only charged with those two. And upon further investigation, they had 6 others deceased and dismembered bodies were found scattered throughout the cave.
Dang, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And people were missing, which they thought were the sex trafficked. But this was actually crazy to me. With the lack of testimony from the remaining followers that survived the shootout, there was not enough evidence to charge those murders to Magdalena and Eleazar.
So they just wouldn't say anything?
They wouldn't.
Still believe, most of them?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because you'd imagine, like, oh, yeah, guys, like, we don't have to be... I didn't want to do this. Yeah, we don't have to be sentenced. Like, you can just put it all on their heads and we'd be fine. But they were so loyal that the deaths instead fell on the heads of the captured cult members, and each was charged with 30 years for 6 counts of murder in the form of group or gang murder or lynching. Jeez. So instead of like being like, oh yeah, they were our leaders, they told us to do everything, they're the ones in charge.
Yeah, they tricked us.
Yeah, they actually each just took on the 30-year sentence. Oh, wow. So they were very loyal, which is heartbreaking because, you know, it was just pure manipulation. Yeah. Even though 8 murdered people were found and justice was served for them, investigators speculate that real death toll is probably closer to like 15 people.
Oh, man.
So quite a few.
It's like almost half their village.
I know, seriously. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. Nothing more has been said of these two siblings, but as of 2013, their 50-year sentence would have been completed. And so with
Whoa, so they're like out now?
Yeah, so they're probably out. I mean,
Or died.
yeah, or died. And so we know that they would have been released then. There's nothing really said. I thought I heard that Eleazar might have passed away in jail. No one knows records of them. I imagine change their name, go on.
Yeah.
And you would hope that spending time in prison like that, it'd be like snap out of their delusion.
All right, I'm not.
Like that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so hopefully they've had some change of heart and have realized what was going on.
Yeah.
Maybe got some therapy. Yeah, so they'd be in their late 60s right now. We don't know where they're at. But although the human sacrifices and blood drinking sect has been dissolved for many decades now, their legacy still leaves Mexico with the haunting reputation of the young woman sex cult serial killer leader, Magdalena Solís, the High Priestess of Blood.
Wow. She's crazy.
It's so sad, though. It's probably because she had such a messed up upbringing.
Yeah. A lot of crazy people in that one, though.
So many, starting with the Hernandez brothers.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to, like, lead these people with a clear conscience.
Yeah.
And trick them. What'd I say?
Cautious or something.
Conscious. I can't. Conscience.
I think. Freaky messed me up now.
With a clear mind.
Yeah.
That they're able to do that is terrifying.
Yeah. It's spooky.
Yeah. So that is our story for this week. You actually chose the story because I think you heard it before, some of it.
Mr. Ballin.
Mr. Ballin is the best. He tells stories the best. I don't know. I hope to be like him one day.
Me too.
But if you have any stories that you recommend.
Not like Brit. I didn't say that.
Oh, you're dirty. Starting true crime. I hate.
I didn't say that.
We don't want beef with other crime podcasters.
I love
Ashley Flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, anyways, that's all I have for you this week. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.